But we are back.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
FM 88.1 WHPR, Highland Park.
WVIE 107.3 FM Charlotte, Amalia, Virgin Islands.
It's that time, y'all. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. Yeah, it's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. It's straight talk with Valerie. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. It's straight talk with Valerie. Come on. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream.
I have a dream. One day, this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Say we built this country. So what it is today, on the backs of our brothers and sisters, and we still can't get paid. Put your foot on our necks, and you shoot us in our sleeve. We throw our hands up, only to beat. I said we'd run away, only to get shot in our backs. In spite of it all, we remain black. Unbelievable, just unbelievable, it's unbelievable. Ooh, come on, so unbelievable.
This note was a promise that all men, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
So we're still at war, and that's unbelievable. And the fight is still on. Battle will overcome. Jesus is the answer. All the mess we're in, still it's unbelievable that the killing won't end. Oh, we gotta believe one day all will come. Yes, sir. And through faith in Jesus, will be one. Unbelievable, just unbelievable. Yeah.
It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Unbelievable. Can I just have a second to tell ya? Can I just have a second to tell ya?
100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material.
Hey, what's happening, Detroit? You are listening to 88.1 FM WHPR. This is the Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream show. Straight talk with Valerie, where I keep it fro real, even though today I'm a little straight, but I keep it fro real. And, I started out with that video, Unbelievable, because it is unbelievable that we still at war in the black community, not among each other, just fighting for our rights, fighting for justice, fighting for racial equality. When is this all going to end? Now, I can say that things are a little bit better now than they were, I'm sure, in 1964. I don't have memories of segregation. I only have stories that were told to me by my mother and my grandmother. But I do have very vivid memories of racism and the things that I have been impacted by in my life and throughout my life. We're still at war. The police were put here to protect us, but who protects us from them? I'm going to say that again. The police was put here to protect us, but who protects us from them? I believe that police are at war with themselves. I believe that their whole culture and the process that they're a part of creates a culture that we are experiencing in Black America. And I'm not saying every police officer, but I am saying some that have racist tendencies. I am saying some that deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. I am saying some that are on steroids and dope and getting high like everyone else, flouting around and using restraint to flaunt their authoritarian power. So based on that, let me introduce my guests. I have this brother here, really needs no introduction. This is a bad attorney right here. And he got swag. I always tease him about that, but he bad with swag. But I got a new acronym for you, Bill. It's called NFA. That stands for not effing around. Because Bill don't play. So Bill is with the NFA pack. He don't be effing around. Bill don't play. I'm bringing to you Detroit surrounding areas on Facebook, the baddest attorney that I know, Mr. Bill Amadeo. Say what's up to Detroit, Bill.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me today.
And when I said he had swag, y'all didn't know that white voice was coming, did you? But I'm telling you, don't play around with Bill. Don't let the skin fool you. Don't play around with Bill. Bill don't play. Let me tell you, I love this brother. His heart and soul and passion goes into the work that he does on these civil rights cases and criminal cases. You can't get a better attorney to represent you than Bill. But let's go to the main focus of this broadcast tonight. And it breaks my heart. Many of you have seen this excerpt on the news played time and time and time again, where in the city of Ypsilanti, Washtenaw County, a young woman and her husband were assaulted by the Washtenaw County Sheriff. She was hit in the head multiple times by the sheriff, and her husband was tased. I want to thank and bring to you listeners in Detroit, in the Virgin Islands, and around the country, Sha'Teina and Daniel Grady El. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Peace.
I want to thank you and your attorney so much for doing this show tonight, because I know it's not an easy thing to do, to talk about this, but I appreciate you having that fight for your own freedom and for justice to continue to have this conversation. We cannot let this and many other atrocities around this country rest. And I know that it is a daunting task to have to deal with this because you live this every day. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. And when I was researching for today, although I've been with you on protest and other things, but it's still very exhausting. And it's unbelievable that we are fighting this war. This is a war. There is no other way to describe this. This is a damn war. It's a war. So let's go back. Let's look at your story. Marquise, can you roll that clip for those who haven't seen it or heard of it? Let's roll this clip.
An Ypsilanti Township couple is behind bars, and what their family says involves a case of police brutality by sheriff deputies.
7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig has been talking to them, and she has the latest from the Washtenaw County Jail in Ann Arbor.
The deputy you're about to see punching the woman is now on administrative leave, and according to the sheriff, the altercation began when deputies were trying to arrest the couple because they refused to leave an area under investigation.
She was arrested for no reason. She was beaten for no reason.
Jaquisi Diggins was inside her Ypsilanti home around 1:30 this morning when she says her mother and father were the victims of police brutality by Washtenaw County Sheriff deputies. We're blurring the deputies' faces because they have not been identified or charged.
The officer punched my arm, her face 3 times for no reason. And she is a female. It was not called for at all. That is not how you do your job. The officer was yelling, and he tased my father.
According to sheriff deputies, they obtained information on a shooting that had them surrounding Jaquisi Diggins' house looking for a suspect.
Can we come in? No. You're at the wrong house. What do you need to come in my house for? Why are you surrounding my house?
She says her parents, Sha'Teina and Daniel Grady L, lived just a few doors down. They came and began to record what was happening.
They were just standing there, and they asked them to back up, and I guess they got upset because they didn't remove themselves from recording, and that's when they attacked my mom.
Sha'Teina, a Ford worker, and her husband Daniel, who works at the Kellogg Eye Center, were arrested.
I don't even know why he touched her in the first place, because she wasn't doing anything but talking to her daughter and trying to de-escalate the situation.
This afternoon, relatives of the couple joined community activists at the jail demanding their release. Sheriff Jerry Clayton came out to talk to them and promised a thorough investigation.
Listen, I looked at the video. The images are disturbing. You don't get any argument from me.
I want my parents out now, today. No 72 hours. No, they did nothing wrong. They need to be out.
Relatives of the couple and community activists say they'll be back here again tomorrow at 1 o'clock demanding their release. That's also when a spokesperson for the sheriff's office says the couple could be arraigned.
That video is very disturbing. To the degree, especially when I listened to what Sheriff Clayton had to say. So let me go to Bill first.
Yeah.
Bill, you were on the scene, not the actual scene, but on the scene at the Washtenaw County Sheriff Department with the protest, and I showed up that day as well. It was very interesting, the dynamics of what was going on that particular day. And it seemed that, you know, the sheriff's office were in cooperation and doing some things. That's how they tried to portray it as far as the news was concerned, especially when Sheriff Clayton said, I saw the video and it's disturbing. Disturbing to who? Because I don't want to jump too far forward. Disturbing to who when you and the Attorney General have filed charges against Miss Sha'Teina Grady L, who was assaulted. So, Bill, take us back to that day. What charges is your client facing, and how would you have liked to see this be handled? How should this have really been handled from the beginning? Because there was a lot of BS going on, moving her around, moving her places. I was there and watching it all behind the scenes. So, Bill, take us back to that day. And what do you think should have happened?
Well, first of all, they should have been apologizing to the Grady L's, not arresting them. There was no reason to arrest Sha'Teina or Dan in the first place. My client is facing a series of felonies for basically being beaten by the Washtenaw Sheriff's Department. That day will be etched in my memory forever. Sha'Teina was filming, and I'm going to say a lot of things they can't say because they're technically defendants in this tragedy. She was filming, which was within her rights. She was nowhere near the police officer or obstructing him. And after Jerry Clayton himself said there was not probable cause to go into a house or an exigent circumstance, the 275-pound white officer came back, grabbed Sha'Teina, and literally almost beat her to death. And then Dan was tased. And for what? And after this investigation was over, after Jerry Clayton says how disturbed he was, my clients are facing 9 felonies between the both of them for doing nothing. They're the victims here. And what Dana Nessel was thinking when she pressed these charges beyond me. Dana Nessel professes to be a big-time Democrat and a big-time supporter of Black Lives Matter, but she literally empowered a white officer to almost kill a black woman that was 3 times her size. Now, where do we stand? We have a preliminary examination come up the middle of December, which may or may not go based on COVID, for both Dan and Sha'Teina. And my question, and you've been in this community longer than I have, I've only been in Washtenaw 3 years, what is the community going to think as these hearings are going on? You said something powerful at the beginning of your episode, how we've made progress from 1964. That was a long time before I was born. And I grew up in Atlantic City, New Jersey, which was a very diverse area. So I'm not used to seeing this separation. This is kind of a new thing to me. And I never thought we had that in Washtenaw County. But when I see innocent black people getting charged with crimes and young black people getting overcharged with crimes, we have a problem right now. And I hope to God that when Eli Savith and Victoria Burton take over, things change. But I will tell you right now, what's going on in Washtenaw has been 3 decades of racial disgrace. It's been domestic terrorism, as my clients like to call it. It has been a tragedy how a white kid from Dexter is treated one way, but a black woman from Ypsilanti is treated another way in the same courtroom. That begins and ends with the prosecutor's office. And I got to watch my language, the real thing that bothers me here.
You don't have to watch your language. Hell, I cuss all the time, but it's on you.
I can say it's bullshit on TV. I can say it's bullshit on the radio. I'm okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is complete bullshit. But I'm going to say this. Brian Mackey, despite his history of racist behavior, was at least smart enough to further this thing, which means he passed the buck. And how Dana Nessel decided to charge this, it's insane. When I met the Grady L's at the jail, I saw 2 people that were beaten. I saw a woman, when in the Wayne County jail, was released for medical purposes 48 hours after being beaten by a Washtenaw officer. And then Jerry Clayton had the audacity to go on TV and say there was no physical injuries to them. Are you kidding me? How did Jerry Clayton flip the script in 48 hours? Because the Friday after the incident, he gave, and I broke this down on the Nate Frazier show, he gave this speech about everything that happened, his point of view. And what that was Jerry Clayton, with an election pending, protecting his officer for the brutality that happened to the Grady L's. Jerry Clayton's actions were completely disgraceful. And since I've taken on this case, I've been threatened with attorney grievances. I've been stopped while driving within the speed limit. But, they're only going to do so much to me, a successful white lawyer. They're going to watch what they do. They're going to, push the envelope a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to cross the line they do with the black people of Ipsy.
Mm-hmm.
And how the hell did we get here? And why are the Grady L's facing felonies after being beaten and tased? Nobody's explained to me how Dana Nessel came to this conclusion.
I agree with you on that. And how did the Grady L's become bad apples as though they brought this on themselves? And what was despicable to me? I can say this caveat. I do not know Sheriff Clayton, never met the man. But I will say that after being there a couple of days of protest, when we got there one day, there were snipers on the roof.
Unbelievable. Yep.
And it is like, why are snipers on the roof? Well, he had asked, could he come out and talk? Because there was a lot of media coverage and people coming to this event that Survivor Speaks put on, my dear warrior sister Trisha. And there were snipers on the roof. You're scared to come out and talk to your own people? Oh, well, they're not snipers, they're observers. What the hell are they observing? Because if someone was there to harm my sister, myself, you, or the Grady L, shouldn't we have been aware of it? And it was mighty strange that when it was made clear that we saw them, because Trisha definitely said something about it and made that phone call, the observers disappeared. That said something that was resounding to me. You're afraid to come out and talk to your own people? The other thing is, for me, the amount of brutality. This is why I think police officers should have to live, just like councilmen and aldermen and other people have to live within their district in order to participate. I feel the same way about the police officer, because when you went over there in West Willow or Apple Ridge or wherever they are in Ypsilanti with your white self, and you were already scared as soon as you turned down Ridge Road. You already had some type of fear or anger or aggression or some type of racial inequities going through your mind when you got the car to go down Ridge Road. But this is the part that even pisses me off even more. You came over there for a gunshot or a potential murderer. Hell, you stop looking for the killer. You start beating her ass.
They actually said they did not have probable cause or an exigent circumstance to go into a house for a man they thought had a gun, but they had probable cause to arrest my client and tase her husband for filming several hundred feet away. How the hell do you draw that conclusion?
I really don't know. I really don't know. But let's go to Sha'Teina and Daniel for a minute, because this happened, I don't know, I guess earlier in the spring of this year. How are you dealing with this trauma that is caused by all of this that's going on? Because it weighs heavy on me, and I am not very far removed, but I'm removed from the incident. I know Bill is a little closer to it. He's your attorney, and I know the type of person that Bill is. He loses sleep. I see some of those lives where he's up just kind of thinking, or whatever. But for you, being cast as a bad apple by an agency that's supposed to serve and protect, how are you handling all of this? And then to turn around and be charged. I felt like all of the wind was let out of me when I found out you were being charged with a felony. I just knew for sure. And it's sad to say, but I wasn't surprised when they were put on administrative leave and still get their nice little paychecks and stuff. A law needs to be passed where police officers need their own professional liability insurance, and they'll stop whooping people's ass on the dime of the community, because that's who has to pay the lawsuit when the city is sued. If it comes out of your damn pocket, you will keep your hands to yourself. If your pension is taken away, you will learn how to keep your damn hands to yourself. traumatizing. You just terrorists. Some of you are just terrorists running around. But Sha'Teina and Daniel, how are you dealing with this?
So first I want to say thank you for the platform, to be able to talk about this. And I want to thank Bill for even taking this on. I know that not many people probably would have. And I also want to thank you for not making the video available that you just showed to everybody. Just listening to it made me start to feel emotional. So I do want to thank you for not showing it, for making it available for us to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's a day, it's literally, and I don't even want to say, because some days it's not even a day by day, it's probably a hour by hour thing for me. Some days I'm totally fine. Some days I wake up an emotional wreck. Some days my husband will attest to, I've woken up in the middle of the night. I don't know what I dreamed about, but I'm crying. I don't know. I will say this is not the first time that I have been assaulted. But this time is different for me. It has done emotional turmoil to me, and I don't know if I'll ever be the same. I'll say that I've had some physical trauma that's healing. But I am in therapy trying to deal with the emotional trauma. I don't know if I'll ever heal from that because it was just brutal. I've never, I don't even think when I was a child, I have ever had someone attack me like that. When I was a teenager in high school and I had a fight, I've never had anyone attack me like that. It's just, I've never, I'm going to say some days it's hour by hour, other times it's day by day.
I can understand that. And your husband is a very wise man. I've learned a lot about the Constitution. He had me going back, both of you had me going back reading and looking at things a little bit differently than the way it was taught to me in school, and doing interpretation of that and rights and looking at things a little bit differently. But your husband is a man of few words. When he speaks, though, he speaks very strong, wise words. And I've never met anyone that can be an introverted extrovert. That's kind of how I look at him, because he doesn't talk. But when he does talk, he comes out with a powerful punch. So, Daniel, can I get a few words from you? Just a few words. How are you doing? Because you did what any man would do, and that is protect your wife. You see someone hitting your wife in the head, you getting over there trying to stop him from hitting your wife. And you get tased. And now to find out all of these charges are even being brought against you as well. How are you handling it? Because I know for our black men, our kings, they usually don't show emotion, right? You're strong and you keep it all together or whatever. But can you just share a little bit, like, how are you standing strong for your entire family? How are you doing?
I'm actually doing well. You know, what happened to us was traumatic, and I don't believe I'll ever get that image of that man hitting my wife out of my mind. It's like, I don't know. It's just a lot of injustice going on that. It's just gotta stop. You know, I don't really know what more to say about how I actually feel. It's defamation of character. I feel like we're being dragged through the mud. I feel like our family is under attack. And that's part of her feeling the way she feels, because she's not sure whether, they might try to do something to attack us again. So I'm just trying to stand strong the best I can as a man.
And you are doing a wonderful job. I have seen you at several protests, at several rallies, and not all of them had anything in particular to do with you and your wife's incident, but you showed up, you were strong, you spoke, and sister comes up with that strong spoken word poetry, follow from her kindred spirit. Like, I see her sitting there writing, and it's like, what are you writing? She was like, these are my thoughts that I feel right now in this moment. So not anything scripted or anything. She takes those feelings in that moment, but you are always by her side. You are always there supporting her, and that's what a man should do for his woman, for his wife. So I salute you. You're just doing a wonderful job. You're keeping it together as far as I know. And I know you have been in my thoughts. You have been in my prayers, you and your wife. And that is why I have you here today, you and your powerful attorney. You are listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie, where we keep it real. And I have one of Michigan's top attorneys, and actually I do believe Bill got an award for being one of Michigan's top attorneys. Bill Amadeo, my brother, my friend, I love dearly. And we have the Sha'Teina Grady Els, and we are talking about how it's unbelievable that we are still at war in the community. I do want to give a shout out to Barry Dobb, good friend that I've made on Facebook out in the entertainment industry out there in Las Vegas. How you doing, Barry? And we also have newly elected Judge Lisa Martin on here. Hey, Lisa, how are you? I am so happy that you were elected, my dear friend and my sister. So we're going to get back to the show. Ashley says that you would lose your license if you hit a patient in any field, even if you are attacked. So then why can police get away with assaulting and killing individuals? The racial injustices and profiling has been documented, but the court refutes it. Absolutely. What can we do to combat police brutality in America? And before I go to Bill first, when they talk about sensitivity training, look at here. I feel like I'm the best trainer in America. I don't think that you can put anybody else up against me in any type of training session in America. And you can put me in a room with racist white cops. You can put me in there for a day, a week, or a month, and it's not a damn thing I can say or do in that amount of time that's going to change them from being a racist white cop. So miss me with that BS talking about some sensitivity training and education. I'm not trying to hear that. Come with something real, Kamala and Joe, because you got in there, but we haven't forgotten about the crime bill and all of the other things. It's a redemption time. You can change some shit now since you here, but I don't want to lose focus because then I'm going to need my wine. So let me get back with Bill. Bill, what do you think can be done to stop police brutality, if anything?
We got to remember one thing, and it really starts with this. Police officers don't bring charges. Prosecutors do. So we need prosecutors. They're not going to empower corrupt police. Every time a prosecutor brings a charge, like they did against the Grady Els, we take 10 steps back. And there should be accountability for that. When a prosecutor or a police officer wrongfully assaults someone and wrongfully charges someone, they should have some kind of accountability. And right now the legislation says, you know what? Sorry we brought that murder charge against an innocent guy, but, you got governmental immunity, so have a nice day. Once somebody is charged, They are never the same. I have won case after case after case when after the client has won, they are in therapy. They are thinking they're going to be a target again. Sha'Teina spoke to that earlier. You don't get past that. Her case is dramatically worse than most because not only was she wrongfully charged, but she was physically abused. And you know what? If we don't catch this on camera, I'm not involved. I don't know what happened. It'd be her word and Dan's word against white police officers. Luckily, we had it on film. What is horrifying is what don't we see on film? What's not being shown to the media? What's not being put out there in public? And how many times are crooked prosecutors empowering abusive police officers? Now, if the prosecutor wants to do the right thing, they look at this situation and say, oh my God, we're sorry, we're not going to charge you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we have a 275-pound white police officer beat a woman nearly to death. We have a man get tased for trying to protect his woman, and now they're facing 9 felonies because the prosecutor said, police report's good enough for us. I don't know how anybody objectively could look at this situation and say that this family deserves to be charged as felons.
Mm-hmm.
And God help us, and by the way, we've been advocating peace. God help us if this case continues in the court system. What's going to happen if a jury somehow convicted this family? Remember Rodney King in 1992?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen in Washtenaw County? The thing that should be happening right now is a dismissal of all charges and an apology to this family. That's what should be happening. And, you know, they're living under this stress. I live with it every night. I can't imagine what they're living with. And when to go back to hit the nail on the head, when it comes to reform, we need the prosecutors in place. They're not going to empower abusive authority of police officers that are corrupt. And we need some kind of repercussions for when an officer does this and when a prosecutor wrongfully files against someone. I don't feel prosecutors or police officers should get a free pass. It's not the way the system was meant. And you know, you are innocent until being proven guilty. That's what the founders of our country said. Why is it in a Washtenaw court that if you're black, you live under the presumption of guilt?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because that's where we're at right now. This is not, you know, I've had a lot of conversations with this family. And one thing Dan said to me at one of the last rallies was, whatever happens to us, but we don't want our children and grandchildren to go through this. Well, I intend for nothing to happen to them, but that statement had a lot of power to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is about every young black man and woman who has been wrongfully charged or overly charged. What Dana Nessel did tragically was she empowered police brutality.
She did.
How else how are we in this situation? My God.
I was floored. I'm telling you, when I was elated, like, okay, you know, Mackey's not going to be able to do any of his bullshit. This is taken out of, you know, he's been recluse. It's been moved up. You know, the attorney general has this, so we're going to see some justice now. And when they came back and said they were charging her, Bill, I was outdone. Like, what the hell is this? I could not believe it. And then they were saying because she bit him. Well, wait a minute. How your damn arm get in her mouth? Because she was trying to slam her to the ground. You know, how did your arm get in her mouth, officer? You know, write that down as one of your questions when you get in. I think that's really good, Bill. How your damn arm get in her mouth?
I don't understand what they think is going to happen as we proceed. I mean, what's the reaction going to be as this woman goes into court to fight for her freedom after being beaten? I mean, is this not going to become national news again? Mm-hmm. We were moving towards peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, well, we need something for the 24-hour news cycle. Let's do this. You know, I'm just stunned. And hopefully This election was crazy, and thankfully Biden and Kamala won. But they're the leaders. We have a lot of work to do.
We do.
To fix all the injustice. I believe we made a step in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. And it's one thing to say you want reform. It's another thing to take action.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot tell you how much hate mail and how many people I thought were friends of mine on Facebook that are out there saying, how are you defending these people after she bit a cop? How? She bit a cop? Are you serious? She was pounded into the concrete. If he got bit, it's because Sha'Teina was fighting for her goddamn life.
I agree.
I mean, where are we at with
That's
this?
what I said. How his arm get in her mouth?
Yeah,
I would have took a bite out of crime too. You doing whatever. So let's go to Sha'Teina and Dan for a minute. What do you think it would take to stop police brutality? I do believe what Bill said is true. Get rid of that indemnification of prosecutors and all of that good old boy network stuff. But I also will repeat what I said, and that is the police officers should come from the community. I remember as a kid growing up, the police officers would come to the school and visit the kids and stuff, and it wasn't anyone that you fear. Now, I see flashing lights. Hell, I've never been arrested, hit, touched, anything like that. And I already get anxiety and traumatized just by seeing the flashing lights in my rear view mirror because of several reasons, right? So Tina and Dan, what do you think should be done? How can we reform the police department? What does that look like to you and your husband?
So immediately, the immediate thing that I think should be done, some people need to be fired. Some examples need to be made. It needs to be known that if you decide to take these type of actions, that technically, not only are they harming someone, but they are also showing them to be, I'm going to say, a liar and dishonest, because when they do the things that they do, they are not upholding their oath to the Constitution. So that makes them dishonest. It makes them a liar, and they can't be trusted. So the first thing I think, and I'm going to feel this way because I'm the one who's been beaten, they need to be fired. Anyone who has a record of this type of behavior, like somebody from the outside needs to go through those files. If there's anything that they have done that is in any way, shape, or form that contradicts their oath to the Constitution, guess what? Especially if they have any complaints on their record, guess what? They need to be fired. If they can, what happens is when I don't know how long I got, I'm just going to take 2 minutes, but when a police officer, you said it, Sister Valerie, when they get behind us, we already go through trauma emotionally. We get, our muscles are tightening up. We're already playing this psychological game where our blood pressure's racing. So that's going on. But they damage us in other ways, meaning when they give you a ticket, and it perpetuates genocide. When they give you a ticket, right, they're already assuming you're guilty. That ticket is a suit. That's saying you're guilty. So now, if you are a person who does not have make a lot of money, now you got to figure out, how should I pay this ticket or should I feed my babies? Okay, so of course, if you're a parent, you're going to feed your baby. When you don't pay that ticket, they're going to put a warrant out on you. When they stop you or catch you again, they're going to put your body in jail. When they do that, what that does is take you away from your family. Not only does that do that, but it affects your job. So if you were on your way to work and they pick you up, guess what? Now you're in jail. Now you may not have a job. Now you got more fines. Now you're away from your family. If your child is at school, you got to figure. And what's crazy is when you get there, you're supposed to get a phone call. A lot of them are assholes, so they don't give it right to you. So how are you supposed to let people you don't know like? It's just a whole big old circle, and it perpetuates. It's genocide because it's basically if I'm racking up charges because I can't pay them because I'm forced to figure out if I'm going to feed my family, pay my bills, keep a roof over my head versus pay this ticket that shouldn't have even happened. Mm-hmm. It's putting me in a poor state bracket. So a lot of work needs to be done. But short term, my fix is how about we fire them and have them worry about how they're going to feed their baby because they don't care how we feed ours. How about we fire them? Now they don't have a job. They don't care if we have one. You see what I'm saying? The tables need to be turned drastically, and then I'd say in the future, like I always say at the rallies, we need to educate, and education is key because understanding us as a people, as a culture, who we are, who our ancestors are. Just if you don't have any self-pride, you won't carry yourself a specific way and know that you need to demand a certain respect. And so this has gone, the treatment of us has gone on this long that we don't know that we need to have some respect. And it's a shame. But long term, I mean, in the future, when we open up those positions, and when I say fire, I mean fire people across the board, because a tree does not grow branches if the roots aren't good. So the roots of the problems are the higher up. It's legislation, it's prosecutors, it's judges that uphold these sentences, it's legislators that make these rules. It's all across the board. There needs to be mass firings, and then we need to start having positions available for us to come to the table. Like my sister Trisha says, we want a spot at the table, and that's what needs to happen. Mm-hmm. In order for anything to be in our best interest, because we've been fighting against oppression for, sister, years, and I'm only 45. But my mama was fighting, and her mama was fighting, and her mama's mama was fighting. We've been oppressed as a people for a very long time. And I have a favorite saying, it's only 2 words, and it's enough is enough. Enough is enough, enough is enough. It's time for the tables to shift, and truly shift. And like I was speaking with you a little earlier about Biden and Kamala, I mean, let's keep this momentum up, people. If we're gonna be putting people in office, we need to have some accountability, because there's no sense in buying this new house, but you ain't gonna keep it clean or pay the bill. I'm just saying. I agree. It needs everything. Things are shifting, but they need to shift a little bit harder. Because if they don't shift harder, we're just only shifting for, like you said, 1960s, and then we've come a little bit further, and then a little bit further. We're moving like a caterpillar. I don't want to move like a caterpillar. These are tough times. We need to speed it up. We got to do better. I don't want to only be like 5% better from 1960 or 10% better from 1930s. No, it's time for us to be on a level playing field. And that's it.
I agree, sister. And that was a wonderful way to take us to the end of our time. It goes by so quickly. Mr. Daniel, you're a man of few words. Did you want to add anything to what your wife just said? I think she said it all, but you may have something to add.
I believe she really did say it all, but what we really need is true knowledge of our culture, true knowledge of who we really are. We can't just take for value what the oppressor has given us all these years, because we've been taught a certain way, but what we've been taught is backwards or sometimes even wrong. And we need to really start studying, because there's enough documentation out there for people to go back to find out what really went on down the timeline and learn who we are and start stepping up to the plate.
And have some self-pride.
I agree.
And be some, yeah.
I agree. Mr. Amadeo from the NFA tribe. Is it anything that you want to say as we leave this evening?
You know, I think Sha'Teina said it well. We have made some turns in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. And I don't think somebody's race or color or creed or social economic situation should determine how they are treated in our court system. And that's where we're at right now. We're in a divided system. Lady Justice is truly blind, and we need to help her out. We need to make sure she could see things more clear. And we all got to work as a team for that. So hopefully the election and such, we're moving in the right direction, but we all need to work as a team. If we don't work as a team, we're just going to be a vicious circle. So hopefully we're moving in that direction, but we have a lot of work to do. It's time to roll up the sleeves and get to work on that.
I agree. Thank you so much, my dear friends. That's one good thing that came out of this situation. I made some really good friends with Bill, Sha'Teina, and Daniel. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I am so happy to be able to have you share, and we will do this again. It would be your victory story on how Bill went up there and kicked ass and you had your freedom. And that's what the next show will be about, because that's what I'm putting in the atmosphere, and that's what's going to happen. So you have been listening to Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, where I don't try to spill any tea or make you feel dazed like you had a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from a different perspective. And tonight it was the perspective of the Daniel Grady El and Sha'Teina Grady El and their attorney, Bill Amadeo. We will see you next week as we continue the series called Devil in the Courtroom, and talking about how the guardianship and the probate court system is robbing people blind. So you have a great week, and we're out of here.
Someday. Lately is more than in the
De gente, andamos en guerra, uno con otro, y todavía tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer. Pero un día, sueño que juntamos unidos como uno.
Here I am trying to understand.